Welcome to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where today's top influencers and entrepreneurs on the rise share empowering stories and ninja tips to become the fuel that ignites a positive change in your life. Our guests don't simply coast through life. They don't let difficult situations stop them. They set big goals, keep their eyes on the prize, and they're joining us today to share insider secrets you can use right now to step into your power and live your purpose. Now, here's your host, Christy Ruffino.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast. I have the opportunity to play with Deb Battersby today. Welcome, Deb.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, well, we have known each other for such a long time. I know you shared your story in one of our original Overcoming Mediocrity books. I don't even know what year that was, but it was a long time ago. And you introduced me to the whole Tony Robbins world. And have introduced me to some amazing people. And I am forever grateful to you for that. I don't even know when we first met. I don't know. Do you remember when we first, how did that?
I am trying to remember, but oh my gosh, it would date both of us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. It's been over 10 years for sure.
Yes.
So, when did you do your first book, Christy?
Well, we did that in 2013. So I would say maybe it was 2014 that I asked you to be in the book, but we had known each other
a little while before that. Yeah. We met at a networking event somewhere.
Oh, that could be. All right. I'm going to think of that at 2:00 in the morning. I'm sure I'll be wake up and I'm
going to call you. I'm going to call you at 2 a.m. when it pops into my head.
Yeah. And so what's great about us is we kind of keep popping in and out of each other's lives. And it's when we reconnect, it's like, oh, we're like super long lost friends. We never go very far. We live only a few towns away. I know we had a lot of similarities in our hobbies and things we love to do. And I'm just kind of blessed to have you in my life.
And I feel the same way, Christy. And I love watching the things you've been doing over the last few years and how many people you're inspiring and helping and guiding along the way. I think our passion is helping people get what they want, and discover and live the life that they've always dreamed of. So I'm super excited to be here sharing time with you. Yes. And I really want to thank you for, being one of our expert presenters at the Leaders Edge Summit just a few weeks ago. It was an outstanding contribution, and I thank you very much for that.
Oh, well, I thank you for inviting me to be on the summit with so many just incredible experts. You have an amazing tribe of people around you, and it was an honor for me to participate.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of your greatest gifts too, is bringing people together. You've been a networking expert since the beginning, and that you just have this amazing ability to bring like-minded people together to share insights and grow together. So thanks.
Well, likewise, right? Like attracts like. You're an inspiration to me and what you've done. And I know a lot about you, but I want the audience to know a little bit more about you. So Deb Battersby is a speaker, author, success coach, and the creator of FreedomPoint System. She is an in-demand speaker on business success formulas and extreme personal achievement. Deb has spoken to thousands around the globe, from New York to Sydney. Ooh, I want to go there. Deb and her company, Success Matrix International, are dedicated to accelerating the success and enhancing the quality of life in its global clientele. Deb works with diverse and dynamic individuals and organizations, from those facing abrupt change to those spearheading it. Known for innovative techniques and dramatic results, Deb has helped thousands achieve their goals and transform their lives using her FreedomPoint System. She is a master practitioner in the field of neurolinguistics neurolinguistics, which is something that we were just talking beforehand, is new to me. I'm just fascinated by that. And neuro-associative conditioning, as well as she's a certified hypnotherapist. Deb is also distinguished as an elite master trainer with Robbins Research International. And you can see why I'm so honored to have Deb on our show today.
Well, I'm super thrilled to be here. And, it's so funny when you listen to your own bio, you go, oh, that sounds interesting. I wonder what that person's really like. So,
yes. Well, we all have a hard time embracing our credentials. I don't know. And it's good. It keeps us humble, but it also keeps us, I think, moves us going forward. And it helps others have confidence in the fact that we know what we're talking about, and you definitely do. And I know this didn't just happen. So I want you to share with our audience your story on how you became the expert in this area. How did you, I don't know if you fell into this, if you stepped into this, if you were intentional in this.
It's fascinating because, my first career was as a real estate agent.
Yes.
And
actually, when we met, I think you were still in that field.
Heavily in real estate. Yes. And I loved real estate. And one day I was having a conversation with someone, and we were talking about, how do you take your reach or your influence to the next level? How do you actually, and this is back in the day when we had ad copy, we were writing ads for our properties and for, and we had to do promotional content all the time. So you'd have a huge assortment of media that you were writing advertising for, to promote your work, to promote your clients, promote your properties. And so we're talking about this concept of other than conscious communication, and that people receive information in different ways. People process in different ways. Some people are highly visual. They need to see imagery. You need to paint a picture for them. You need to use highly visual words. Some people are very auditory. They need to hear things. Things need to resonate with them. Things need to sound clear. And so you use words that relate to sound in order to communicate with them. And then there are those people who are more kinesthetic. They feel things. So they process through emotion. And so they were saying, if you could write an ad to tap into every single one of those modalities, you would increase your response rate, tenfold. And I thought, okay, I have to learn this. So that was my entree into other than conscious communication. And in that course, I met another woman who said, if you really love this, then you have to see, you have to go to a Tony Robbins event. Now, I confess, my first Tony Robbins event was back in 1988.
Oh, wow.
And in 1989, I did his 2-week immersion certification in neuro-associative conditioning. And if you know anything about Tony, you know that he's insane energy, high energy. His programs they don't go 8 hours a day or 10 or 12. They usually go 16, 18 hours a day. And so think of this 14 days in 18 to 20 hours a day with Tony. And I will tell you that by the end of that, I was totally hallucinating. I was completely delirious. And yet, so much of the information that I gleaned in that 2 weeks really transformed my business and pretty much my entire perspective on life and possibility. Well, in 1989, I did that. In 1990, I read 2 of his books. In 1991, I did the certification program all over again, but this time as a support, a volunteer support. And by 1992, I started in Tony's leadership program. Now, the leadership program has taken many iterations over the last few decades, but truly, I've been studying with Tony for more than 30 years. And, it's been, I love his work because to me, live events with highly emotional constructs around them, the energy, the excitement, the transformation, etc., was like the ultimate laboratory and playground for human behavior. And so it served me impeccably well in my real estate career. But I realized that I was using it more and more in the training I was doing of other agents, in the work that I was doing as a leader and influencer in the Women's Council of Realtors, in the work I was doing for the state, the local, the National Association of Realtors, that I was using more and more of these modalities to help people transform their business and increase their impact, their revenue, etc. So it was more of a passion project to develop myself, but also to develop other colleagues in the industry. And so at one point I realized that, coaching is something I've been doing my whole life. And that I realized that my role, even as a real estate consultant, that I was coaching my clients every single day on, trying to understand where they're at, what they need, what are their motivations, what's keeping them from making the decisions they need to make. And I realized that, that this has been intrinsic throughout my life. And so I guess it just became evident that one day I decided, as much as I love my real estate career and it's a thriving practice, I knew I had to venture into, professional coaching. And it sort of happened. It happened actually quite by accident to begin with.
I love that though. That's usually means that it usually means it's meant to be. When you're not planning it and it just kind of all comes together and you do the best you can to keep up with it, right? It's your purpose.
Yeah.
I completely, we were just talking beforehand about an event I went to that brought in some of these NLP processes. And I was like having a hard time dealing with 3 14-hour days. And I can't imagine 2 weeks of 18 hours. I totally get you were hallucinating, because at day 3, actually day 2, I'm like, I'm ready to go home. This is too much emotion. There's too much going on. I can't handle it. But that is really I'm learning that our brain, when we're wired a certain way for so long, something needs to happen for us to rewire.
Yes, something has to disrupt the old pattern.
Yes.
And, these immersive events are designed exactly to do that. Take you out of your comfort zone, get you out of complacency, move you into the realm of possibility. Because normally you'd say, I can't do this. And on the end of day 2, you're going, but I did it. And day 3, you're going, oh my God, look what I've just done. And so it's constantly opening up the realm of possibilities.
Yes, I love that. And honestly, if you're listening, you have to stay tuned. You have to make sure you're here for our second show or second half of the show, and share this, because I know there's going to be so many. This will probably be a little bit longer than most episodes because I know Deb has a ton of great content to share. So Deb, do you mind holding on a moment? We're going to take a quick break and then we'll come back and we're going to dive in.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Why spend hours networking in person and now online, only to interact without ever connecting? Who wants to be even busier when our goal is simply to get more business? Since 2003, the Dynamic Professional Women's Network, aka DPWN, has established itself as the premier network for women to grow their businesses through relationship networking. With local and global members across the nation, DPWN sisters help each other prosper through collaboration, mentorship, accountability, support, wisdom, and most importantly, referral generation. To join the DPWN team, visit dpwnglobal.com. Welcome back, everybody. This is Christy and Deb Battersby, and we're going to play. We're going to learn about our superpowers. We're going to learn about the theater of the mind. So many great things. So, Deb, this is a new world for me. And obviously, this is your area of expertise. And so how do we dive into this whole reprogramming? Because the goal is for us to be more effective in our business. And
absolutely. There's one thing I want to just kind of give you a little bit of a pre-frame on here. And that is, in all my years in personal development, and I know the people who are listening to this podcast are really entrenched in personal development because you know that you're capable of so much more than what you're currently demonstrating. And that doesn't matter how much you've already achieved and at what level you're succeeding. The reality is that there's a part of you that knows that there's more, and that you can achieve more and you can create more. So the objective here today is help you recognize, how do you get to that more, that bigger part of yourself? And so this all came about for me because after years and years in the personal development in live immersion events, I kept asking the question about what's the difference between real transformation and just having an awareness where you need to condition change. And I'm fascinated with transformation because transformation means that you move from the caterpillar to the butterfly and you don't ever get to go back to the caterpillar. Never. In transformation, there is no going back.
I love that. That's a great analogy.
So there's no going back, but yet in condition change, as soon as you stop conditioning, atrophy sets in and it's easy to go back to where you were or less than where you were. So I was always wanting to know what the heck is the difference between those components and how do we get to transformation? And what I discovered is that transformation is quickest and easier in when you're tapping into the subconscious and the unconscious. Now, Napoleon Hill wrote tons about this, nearly 100 years ago. And every personal development guru since then has expanded upon these fundamentals. But a big part of it is tapping into the subconscious, the unconscious. And so how do you do that? Well, because we are so in our heads most of the time, we're really functioning in the conscious level. And we're running the same thoughts over and over and over again because the conscious only represents 10% of what's going on. 90%, if not 95% of everything you do every single day, everything you think, how you do what you do is programmed. It's on autopilot, and it's harder than hell to change it consciously because the subconscious is running the show. Consciousness helps you become aware of it. So you recognize, hey, I'm frustrated. I feel like I'm holding myself back. I'm beating myself up. I know what actions to take and I'm not taking them. I'm procrastinating. The conscious mind is fully aware, hey, these things are not working, and yet you keep doing them. And the subconscious keeps doing them because something about that serves you. And this is where, most people, this is where the real epiphany comes through, that in the subconscious, every pattern you want, and if I could really, really help you make a massive change in your life today, it's to understand that every single pattern that you run, regardless of how disruptive or destructive you think it is, it serves you on some level. And if it didn't, it would not be locked into your programming. Now, the issue with the subconscious is that it set most of our protective programs before we were the age of 8 or 9. And once a program is locked in, that program is still running as if we are the 1-year-old, 2-year-old, 5-year-old, 9-year-old that it came to protect. And so the subconscious doesn't keep track of the fact that, you've had decades of learning and experience and growth, and you have confidence and certainty and mastery in certain things. Subconscious doesn't care. The program is there. It came to serve you at a certain age. So let's talk about the programs around prosperity and abundance. And so, because this is such a big deal for most people, that, we have beliefs around abundance, around money, around resources that are playing out on autopilot. And I'll share one of mine real quickly. I am from a very big family. I have 8 siblings. My father was self-employed in a very manual labor kind of business. He was a landscaper, but more expert in tree removal, taking down trees. And, like if a limb fell on a garage or was threatening to fall on your house, or if there was a bad storm, or they fell on power lines or things like that. So it was also very seasonal. So we learned in our household the whole structure around feast or famine. And so I realized, in my early explorations into, mind power and NLP, I realized that a lot of times I was running that program in my business, feast or famine. I would be working my tail off, and, I'd put together 20 transactions, and then all of a sudden, I'd have a drought of a couple of months. And I realized that I was perpetuating that because my belief was that with all this abundance, right after that is going to come the famine. And so my question for you is, what is your belief around prosperity, abundance, money, that is that subconscious program that's running, that's restricting the flow? And so how do you get to that? And so it's a very simple way. And like I said, how do you tap into the subconscious? One of the fastest ways to do it is through the breath. And so what I suggest is that when you're tapping into other than what's going on in your conscious mind, is to take slow, deep breaths in through the nose, exhaling slowly and gently through the mouth. I also suggest you close your eyes in the process because it makes sure you stay focused inward. And then, after you've done a couple of slow, deep breaths in, then I'm going to invite you to do a series of breaths where you take a deep breath in and you hold that breath for a count of 5. And then you exhale and hold the emptiness for a count of 5. And so you're going to repeat that 3 times. And on the 3rd time, as you hold your breath with the thought, I'll say, take a deep breath in and hold that breath as you drift slowly into the emptiness. And then exhale and drift even deeper into the emptiness. So it's a couple, you can probably do it in 2 minutes. And just because what that does is bring you into your breathing, connect you with your body, and kind of move you out of your conscious thinking, and it shifts your brain waves. And so from there, then I'll have you do an exercise, and I'm going to say, just money is, and then fill in the blank and answer that or complete that statement 7 times. And the reason for 7 is just to make sure that you're getting beyond the obvious and those things that you might be consciously aware of, and you're dropping down into things that you might not be consciously aware that you think. And so then you're going to do lack of money is. Because that is where we forget. This is where our biggest wounds are and our biggest emotional blocks can be, that lack of money is. Oftentimes we might say money is hard to get, money is hard to keep, money is, money is a separator of people. Money is, back in the old days, you often heard people say money is the root of all evil. Depending on your upbringing, that might be part of your your subconscious programming. But lack of money is, you might see things like scary, limiting, dangerous, that you might find things that are even more emotionally charged than money is. And so I suggest that you're going to do this in 3 categories. Money is, lack of money is, abundance is, lack of abundance is, wealth is, lack of wealth is. And you're just going to complete that, go through that. And then once you've got your list of 7, you want to circle the ones that you recognize immediately as blocks to your prosperity.
Okay, this is really good. Now, can I ask you a couple questions about
Please
this? Or do you have, okay.
Yeah, please.
So when you shared your story about your father, what came to me immediately was my story about my mother, because I grew up with a single mom, and we never had much. I remember as a teenager, my girlfriend's parents would go buy me like the Jordache jeans because my mom couldn't afford it, and they felt sorry for me. But yet we always had food on the table and we did the things that we needed to do, but we just had the bare minimum. And
Right.
that was my normal. And what I see in my life now is that I'll make a ton of money, but then I stop working to get back to my normal, which is barely enough. And so I'm constantly on this like up and down.
Yes.
And when I get to barely enough, I stay there until it gets uncomfortable and I need money for something. Then I'll make a bunch of it. But then I kind of like stop making more because I get back to the norm for me, which is barely enough. Right?
And that's part of your unconscious programming. It's like you have an unconscious thermostat.
That's comfortable.
It says, we cannot get warmer than this. And then when it gets too cold, we turn up the heat and we go back to work.
Yeah. So if I were to do this exercise where money is, abundance is, wealth is, and then, lack of each of them, would I fill in the blank with what I feel, what I believe right now, or what I should believe? That's the
question. No, not what you should believe. The should stuff is never going to work because the subconscious goes bullshit. Pardon my expression, but it just says that's total BS. You don't believe that for a minute.
Okay.
So it's what you do believe, and you want to uncover what you really believe because that's what you want to transform. So, and by the way, that getting back to normal, what's the gift? Honestly, see the secret of the work that I do is what's the gift in the, being able to be content and happy with the bare minimum? Because you said we had everything we needed. We had food on the table. We did what we had to do. I did what was important. And yet we operated on the bare minimum. So Chrissy, I want to ask you, what's the benefit of that? Being able to operate on the bare minimum. Do you know a whole lot of people in the world who couldn't possibly function on bare minimum? They don't even know what that'd be like. They'd fall apart in an instant. So what is the gift in being operate on the?
Well, the gift for me is being able to be resourceful when I need it. Right.
Yes. So resourcefulness, huge gift. What else?
Yeah. Creative, determined when I need to be, and the belief that I can make anything happen if I need to make anything happen.
Exactly. How powerful has that been in
Huge.
Creating your success?
And I don't even get freaked out when my bank account gets to zero because I know I'll be able to get it back up when I need to.
And the beautiful thing about that too is it's not only makes you creative and resourceful, it makes you extremely practical. it helps you realize, okay, where should I put the resources that I have? So it's not, I don't squander my resources. And I would say that's true of you. You do not squander your resources.
Correct.
You go, where can I put these resources that's going to do the most good or take care of what's the most essential? So those are the upsides of that experience, the pattern of, bare minimum, resourceful, creativity, determined, practical, pragmatic, prudent, maybe sometimes even frugal when you need to be. So there are many gifts to it. Now, what we're kind of looking for is what's the downside to that?
Yeah, there's a
that
lot of
pattern.
downside. Yeah.
The downside is I keep going back there because it's familiar. The downside is it keeps me from breaking the cycle. The downside is it limits even though my potential is unlimited, my practical application of that is limited because I don't keep growing. I keep growing and retreating, growing
and hustle and retreat and hustle. I don't have the freedom to make a financial decision easily because the resources are there. It's a difficult decision because now I've got to hustle again to get it. So there's a lot of downsides to that.
Yeah. And the reason you keep running it is because the hustle that it creates is part of your secret sauce. So it keeps, does that make sense?
Yes.
So you can see why the pattern actually holds on because it creates the hustle.
I'm so good at it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't say that with honors. It's not a badge of honors, but it's good. But it is something that could be changed.
It's good, but the application has a downside. Now, the beautiful thing about working in the playground of the mind, the theater of the mind, you see the subconscious loves drama. It loves negotiation. It loves dialogue, and the subconscious and the unconscious, unlike the conscious mind, has no limitations. And whatever, you've heard the quote a million times, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve.
Absolutely.
Because and it's not the conscious mind, it's what the subconscious mind can embrace. Because the conscious mind will always go, is that really possible? I've never seen that done before. There's all these roadblocks to doing that, where the subconscious goes, oh yeah, let's do that. It's like a little magic kingdom. And that's why I call it the prosperity playground. You go into the subconscious to create what you want. And so let's do a quick example here, Christy, for you. Okay. And so that is, I want you to think for a moment about that belief that I have to go back to the norm, the bare minimum. I want you to think about that and just take a couple slow, deep breaths in.
Okay, I'm I'm getting very vulnerable here. I'm like, okay, should I air this episode? But I am gonna, because this, I believe, will help other people, right?
And and I think it's beautiful because we're going to show them how easy it is to change it.
Yay. Okay, let's go.
Okay. All right. So I just want you to think about that, the bare minimum. I'm comfortable with the bare minimum. I'm going back to the bare minimum. And so just take a couple slow, deep breaths in and just scan your body and tell me, where do you feel that emotion?
So I don't want to have a lot of dead airspace here, but I definitely feel it in my heart.
Good. Okay, let's just go with that. Okay, so now this information is in the heart. So I'm going to ask the information in the heart. I'm really just going to ask it. So bare minimum. How long have you been hanging out with Christy? Quickly, whatever comes to you.
Long time, as long as I can remember. This is
as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
And we already know. So bare minimum, if it's true that you have a really important job to do for Christy, an important job to do for her, what's the job? What did you come to do?
Survival.
Absolutely.
Survival. Yeah.
And what's the upside of that? She's, how have you benefited her all these years all these years.
Helped her be resourceful and determined and never give up, right?
Yeah.
Never give up, be limitless,
And you've taught her how to hustle,
unstoppable.
and you've
Yep.
taught her how to be determined and all those things. So let's just share a little bit about what's the downside of your particular strategy. And I'm asking this of bare minimum, not Christy. I'm asking this of the pattern bare minimum. So what's the downside to your service? What's the downside to your strategy?
Well, the downside is, as bare minimum, she leaves me once in a while to go hustle.
She does.
I don't know.
Well, the downside of your strategy is, number one, you push her to thrive, but then you pull her right back.
Pull her back, yeah.
Yeah. And have you ever let her excel to the point that she's really capable of? Have you?
Probably not.
No.
I would say no.
And was that your intention?
No.
No. You wanted to help her be resourceful, creative, to thrive. You see, you came to help her survive, but there was something more. You actually wanted to help her thrive, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Right. And so do you think your strategy is helping her thrive, or does it just kind of pull the rug out from under her when she is thriving?
Yeah, definitely pulls her back in.
Yeah. And so if you could change that, if you could deliver all that upside and get rid of the downside, would you consider doing it for her?
Absolutely.
Okay. So what would happen if you added something to your strategy?
What would I add?
Well, let's think about that. What could you add? Bare minimum says, hey, you can survive in any situation. You're creative, you're resourceful. So what would you add? Bare minimum says you can survive. What would you add that would allow you to thrive?
I don't know. Not pulling her back in, not pulling the rug out from underneath her.
Right. That's the not, but what would you give her that would add something? Add something, that would give her the opportunity. Let's say, may I make a suggestion just for, efficiency's sake?
Yes.
And so this is not what we normally do in the work, but
know.
Could you add the faith in abundance? That, hey, I can thrive in any situation, but I can do some major contribution with unlimited abundance.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm comfortable. Throw me in the jungle. I'll figure it out. I'll survive. But give me some resources, and what can I create? So what would that be? Would that be just tapping into unlimited abundance? Would that be tapping into prosperity? What would you add to, hey, I can handle bare minimum, but I'm destined for much bigger things.
Right. I could thrive with abundance. I could help more people with abundance. I could make a bigger impact with abundance. I could serve my family more with abundance.
Absolutely. And isn't that why we all want abundance?
Absolutely.
And so how powerful is that? So just take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, just scan the body and tell me, where is the thought of abundance? And if you can find it in your body, great. If you can't, look outside, because there is abundance all around you.
Yes.
There's abundance in the people, there's abundance in everything. So
I have a vision board right in front of me. My abundance is right there.
Okay, so take a deep breath in and draw it in. Draw that vision board into your heart. Into your heart. Just take a deep breath, because this is where the imagination comes in. This is where the theater of the mind comes in. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, and draw in that vision board into your heart. It is no longer just an object outside of you to observe. It is part of you. It is in your heart. And it's partnering with the ability to survive.
Yes. Yes.
And just take a deep breath in. And as you exhale with intention, just let those two partner. Just intention. That's all it takes. This is the power of the playground, the prosperity playground, to thrive. I can survive and I can thrive.
Wow. I love that. Okay. Well, I don't want to take any more time with this, Debbie. We can work on our own.
Well, the beautiful thing, this is exactly what
Yes.
your listeners are going to do for themselves.
Absolutely. This is very practical. They could take these 3 different categories with the money and abundance and wealth and define that for themselves and do the same exercise.
Absolutely. And so what I would suggest is that you circle the ones that are the limiters, but then in a different color pen or pencil or marker, circle the ones that are, they're a source of power. They are, they are in essence the antidote to the ones that are limiters. And if you don't have enough of those, just go next to the words that you've circled as limiters and imagine what would be the antidote to that.
The opposite, right?
So what's the antidote to that belief? It's not just the opposite, but the antidote. What wipes that out? What cures that, And so if it's scarcity, it could very well be that the antidote is abundance. And then what you will do as you take a few more deep breaths in, bringing yourself back centered, is you want to bring together all of those positives, antidotes, all of those empowering beliefs and emotions. And you, at that point, I generally invite, that these resources partner up to become your dream team.
I love that.
And so that through this exercise, but in order to really work effectively with the subconscious, you have to know what the real blocks are so that the empowerment can literally cure those blocks, resolve, diminish, release those blocks. Yes. So does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Absolutely. Now, one really quick question. I don't know if this is in alignment, but as we're doing these breaths and as we're defining our empowering beliefs, does having different smells help in that experience?
Absolutely. The interesting thing about when you talk about, I talked about visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, but the thing that goes straight to the limbic brain is smell.
Yes.
And so that I love that because you can bring a particular aroma that represents prosperity and abundance to you.
I have a couple in front of me. I have my abundance essential oil and my gratitude and my Play-Doh. I have Play-Doh on my desk because I just every once in a while love to just smell Play-Doh because it's a childhood memory and I love it.
Okay. That's so beautiful. What I would suggest is that you can apply some of those oils, on your wrists. And as you're taking your deep breaths,
I love this.
Amplify the experience through aroma.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, the next of the 5 senses where we process information is called gustatory, and that is through the sense of taste. And you can even link it to a sense of taste. Whether maybe it's a taste of spearmint or a taste of something that feels, or peppermint. Peppermint is a very uplifting scent. And so you can combine, wow, now see, we're going into very advanced work here,
I know.
So we can combine scent and taste. To go even deeper into the limbic system and what we're actually doing is we're reorganizing subconscious patterns.
Okay.
And so this is just one simple way to do it. There's so much more involved in, how you can create transformation for yourself, how you can create transformation for your clients. And gosh, if there's any coaches out there that really want to understand true transformation work and learn more about it, you can always reach me at deb@successmatrix.com. So,
all right. So this is a perfect transition because I know you've got an amazing gift that you're giving our audience. This is the hidden barriers to success and metric moves to overcome them, because I love this because you're not just pointing out what the problems are, you're giving actionable items. You're helping us go from, I have my notes here, go from just creating a temporary change to making sure we have real, true, long-lasting transformations.
exactly. And so the idea behind hidden barriers is to help you tap into, some of the things that are holding you back that you may not have been conscious of. And there's some strategies on things you can do to start to shift that. But you can also take this exercise that we just did about this, this barrier is, and, just go through it and take it even deeper into a more transformative experience.
Yeah. Wow. I told you guys this was going to be a long episode. I hope you're all still with me, and you can go to the show notes below to get Deb's free gift. And one more question. I don't usually ask this, but I think it would be really helpful. Who is your ideal client? If people are listening right now and they think, oh, this was really informative and very helpful, who is the person, the avatar that you feel that you help them get the best results? You mentioned coaches before, but is that your ideal client?
Well, to tell you the truth, my clients are entrepreneurs, and I consider coaches entrepreneurs. I really do, because, I believe that entrepreneurs are going to solve the greatest problems our society. It's not going to be government. It's not going to be religious organizations. It's not going to be philanthropic organizations. It's going to be entrepreneurs. I believe that these are the people that are meant to change the world, and they are the ones who always have. And so I want to equip entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists included, to make sure that you tap into your greatest potential to have the most impact in the world. And because of, the people who listen to, these podcasts, I know who you are. I know where your heart is at. I know you want to make a difference. And I know you want to create abundance for the world, because it is scarcity that divides the world.
It is.
It is
so
scarcity
true.
that creates separation. It is scarcity that actually stimulates prejudice on so many levels. So, abundance is the answer. Entrepreneurs know how to be pragmatic about creating the resources people need. I believe you are the solution. And I believe the way to get there is for you to create great abundance for yourself and your clients. And so I like to say, okay, yes, my ideal clients are entrepreneurs. But many, many years ago, 21 years ago, 22 years ago, I created a mission statement, a poster. And the thing that rings true even to this day is that I know I'm here to influence the influencers. And so those are my clients, thought leaders, influencers.
I love that. That is a great way to end the show, that you help influencers, you influence the influencers so they can make a bigger impact in the world. Love that.
That's right.
That's
exactly right.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sorry we went a little over the hour. I know you have a client right after this, so we'll go ahead and end this. If you listened and heard anything today that you found to help you, you will retain it better if you share it and teach it with other people you know. So I encourage you to do that. Take your notes, share it, talk about it with people you know, because we want them to also be blessed by learning this information. Hopefully you'll be inspired to listen to the show as well and download Deb's amazing gift. And if you loved our show, our podcast, please share it with other people. Get them to subscribe, get them to like it, get them to review it. And if you haven't reviewed it, I'd love to be able to see that. I just, my mission is to bring other amazing influencers onto our podcast, and the best way to ensure another successful year of great programming is to keep our ratings high, keep our reviews high, and just keep serving the world. So thanks everybody. And thanks especially Deb.
My pleasure. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Overcoming Mediocrity podcast, where we believe that everyone can have the business and life of their dreams once they've learned the art of mastering their story. Mastering our stories is the key to everything we want in life. Our stories can either hold us back or they can propel us to new heights. We can choose. You can choose. Choose to overcome mediocrity with us. Let's achieve greatness together. To learn more, visit www.overcomingmediocrity.org. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.